My name is Kayla Hedgepeth. Do you support in humans playing God's role? Would you still eat meat if you found out that it wasn't meat at all? And twins are miracles, but how would you feel about a clone? These are all questions regarding genetic engineering and should be taken considered of when choosing of supporting genetic modification. Genetic engineering should not be supported and should be legal in all ways, shapes, or form, whether it's plants, meats, or humans. Genetic engineering, also referred to as genetic modification and GMOs, genetically modified organisms, is the process of manipulating DNA by inserting a gene of interest into a targeted organism. This technology has been going on since 1973, so it's fairly new. Because of its new technology, many risks come with it. Genetic engineering should be illegal because genetically modified foods can cause many health risks. DNA modification in humans can cause negative impacts on the society, and genetic engineering goes against many morals and ethics. Genetically modified foods means any food containing or derived from genetically engineered organisms. Dealing with this is a tough argument. Some people believe that it creates more food security, more income, and in some cases, some organisms can have nutrition added to them that could benefit our health. However, economically, the process is costly and lengthy. The certifications that have to be seen through are more of a hassle than what it's worth. The health risks of a foodborne illness such as allergies, mutations of offspring, and cancer from resistance of GMOs outweighs the facts that nutrients can be added into genetically modified organisms. The article, Genetically Modified Foods and Social Concerns by Ali Adekani, stated that the foodborne diseases such as soy allergies have increased over the past 10 years in the USA. And many scientists indicate that animals fed GMO crops have been harmed or even died. Rats exposed to transgenic potatoes or soy have had abnormally young sperm. It can happen to animals, so it can happen to us. Keep in mind that science isn't perfect. When going through the process of genetically modifying a human, it can cause damage that surgeons and scientists aren't even aware of. These are risk factors relating to success of the transfer. There's other factors such as using it for non-medical reasons, and it can reduce individuality among humans. The main reason for human genetic modification is to aid diseases such as sickle cell, anemia, and cancerous diseases. In a short film called Ethical Concerns Surrounding Genetic Edited Babies by UW Medicine, a scientist announces the two genetically modified babies in China and its ethical concerns. Malia Fullerton, an associate professor of bioethics and humanities, states that the problem in gene editing technology sometimes can misdirect to different places of the genome. This simulates similar genetic changes to regions within the body that weren't targeted. This can create unknown side effects. If we are genetically modifying organisms for food security and DNA modification for removing diseases, where does it stop? An article called Most Americans Support Gene Editing Embryos to Prevent Diseases poll shows has statistics of a poll made explaining how people felt genetic engineering would be used. It stated nearly 9 in 10 people think that the technology will be used for unethical reasons, including the 52% who say this is very likely to happen. This includes the concept of designer babies, clones, and persons modified for specific uses like an army. In the short documentary called CRISPR, in context, The New World of Human Genetic Engineering, microbiologist Jennifer Doudna was interviewed on the topic. She stated, for the traits that you've mentioned, blue eyes, height, and athletic ability, they are all things that result from most likely hundreds and thousands of genes. And for the most part, we don't know what those are. This was said by the microbiologist. There are too many uncertain possibilities and effects to keep going through with genetic engineering. Some people believe it's okay to do whatever it takes to enhance themselves or others. However, the process of genetic engineering goes against many ethics and morals. It also becomes a religious concern. Many religious people argue that it isn't right to change what's already been created. A person doesn't have to be religious to see the problem in lack of informed consent, justice, and equity. In an article named "What Are the Ethical Concerns of Genome Editing" by National Human Genome Research Institute, it mentions the ethical concerns within human genetic modification. It states that some people worry that it is impossible to obtain information consent for genome therapy because the patients affected are the edits of embryo in future generations. And as with many new technologies, they are concerned that genome editing will only be accessible to the wealthy, and this will create existing disparities in access to healthcare and other interventions. These are all ethical, controversial topics when it comes to rights and fairness. In conclusion, genetic engineering is a cop-out for what is said to be more efficient and helpful when it actually does more harm than good. Genetic engineering should be illegal because of its health risks within foods and humans, the negative impacts on a society, and the ethically wrong decisions that have to be made to proceed with this process. Are these risks that you are willing to take?